all started very quietly, like a small secret being whispered online. Nobody really paid attention at first. Then suddenly, boom, a shocking video appeared out of nowhere. The clip looked like Rick Ross and Birdman were fighting each other. People couldn't believe their eyes. The internet went completely crazy. Blogs started posting again and again. Fans began arguing in the comments. Everyone wanted to know the same thing: what really happened. Some people thought it was old anger finally exploding. Others believed something new must have started it. Nobody knew for sure. So to understand this madness, we have to rewind and look at the full story, step by step, in a simple way. It has been around for many years, and somehow it always comes back louder than before. If you followed hip-hop for a long time, you already know these two men share a deep history filled with respect, money, success, and painful fallouts. That one short clip just opened old wounds and reminded everyone of the drama between the Maybach music boss and the Cash Money legend. To really understand it, we need to go back to the beginning. A long time ago, Rick Ross and Birdman were very close. They weren't just friends, they were like family. Two powerful Southern rap bosses who built big empires through hard work, loyalty, and hustle. They even made music together. They released a joint mixtape called The H. It was recorded in 2008 and officially released in May 2013. That mixtape had songs like Flashy Cars and Born Stunner. Those tracks were all about success, teamwork, and brotherhood. Rick Ross used to speak about Birdman with deep respect. He called Birdman an idol and said Birdman pushed him to grow and become better in the rap game. Birdman returned that same love. He said Ross was like a brother, and that Ross taught him important lessons about the music business. At that time, everything looked perfect. Two bosses, one vision, nothing but respect. But things didn't stay that way. So how did they go from being brothers to enemies? That's the big question. To answer it, we have to look at Birdman's relationship with another huge name in rap, Lil Wayne. The problems between Rick Ross and Birdman didn't just appear randomly. They started because of Birdman's messy breakup with Lil Wayne. Rick Ross always respected Lil Wayne a lot, not just as a rapper, but as a Southern rap legend. Years ago, Birdman discovered Lil Wayne when Wayne was only 9 years old. Wayne was living in the Magnolia Projects in New Orleans. Birdman heard the young boy freestyle and instantly knew he was special. He signed Wayne to Cash Money Records in 1993 and helped shape him into one of the biggest rappers in the world. Wayne looked up to Birdman like a real father. After Wayne lost his stepfather in 1997, he even started calling Birdman Daddy. Their bond was very deep. It wasn't just about music. It felt like family. For years, they worked together, made hit songs, and built Cash Money into a powerful empire. Birdman often said Wayne was his son and that he would even die for him. Everything seemed strong and unbreakable, until suddenly it was. In December 2014, everything changed. Lil Wayne went on Twitter and shocked the world. He said he felt like a prisoner at Cash Money. He accused Birdman of not paying him and holding back his album. Thaw Carter V. Fans were shocked. The entire music industry watched closely. That loving father-son relationship suddenly looked like a painful business fight. Wayne's tweets were emotional and honest. It was clear something was badly broken. And that drama didn't stay private. It spread across the whole rap world and pulled Rick Ross right into the middle of it. This was not a small argument. It was a serious fight about money, respect, and control. By January 2015, Lil Wayne had enough. He went to court and filed a huge lawsuit against Birdman and Cash Money Records. He asked for $51 million, saying they broke his contract and owed him money. This lawsuit shook hip-hop completely. Rick Ross was watching everything from the sidelines. At first, he stayed quiet. But when he saw how Lil Wayne was being treated, it didn't sit right with him. Ross respected Wayne deeply for what he did for Southern rap. Seeing someone so important being treated unfairly really bothered him. When you admire someone from far away, you often believe they are perfect. But when you see how they act behind closed doors, your image of them can change fast. That's what happened with Ross. He started seeing Birdman differently. Then things got even scarier. In April 2015, Lil Wayne's tour bus was shot at in Atlanta after a club show. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the message was serious. The whole industry froze. People started whispering. Was this connected to the Cash Money drama? Had things gone too far? Police later looked into the shooting. Some reports connected it to people close to Birdman. Birdman denied any involvement. In 2019, the charges were dropped because there wasn't enough proof. Still, just being connected to something like that changed how people looked at the situation. From that point on, Rick Ross stopped holding back. Between 2015 and 2016, Ross began speaking through his music. On his album Black Market in December 2015, he released a song called Color Money. Many people believed the lyrics were aimed at Birdman. Ross talked about money, respect, and artists being treated unfairly. Fans knew exactly who he was talking about. In April 2016, Birdman went on The Breakfast Club. That interview became legendary because it lasted only about 2 minutes. Birdman walked in angry, demanded respect, said the famous line, "Put some respect on my name," and walked out. The clip went viral instantly. Rick Ross reacted in a clever way. He sent bottles of his Belair Risée champagne to the Breakfast Club hosts. It was smooth but disrespectful in a quiet way. The message was clear. Ross had picked a side. By September 2016, Lil Wayne was still upset and tweeting about possibly retiring from music. Fans were heartbroken. Someone on Twitter suggested Wayne should leave Cash Money and join Maybach Music Group. Rick Ross retweeted it and wrote, "Get Birdman on the phone." That wasn't a joke, it was a challenge. Birdman felt hurt by this. He thought him and Ross were still close. In interviews, Birdman said he didn't understand why Ross was stepping into a situation that wasn't his business. From Birdman's point of view, Ross's actions felt like betrayal. Ross had more reasons, though. He said his close friend DJ Khaled also had bad business experiences with Birdman. That was the final straw for Ross. Now it wasn't just about Wayne. It was about protecting people he cared about. In March 2017, everything exploded. Rick Ross released the song "Idols Become Rivals." This was not a normal diss track. It was emotional and detailed. Ross told a story about how someone he admired disappointed him. He accused Birdman of being greedy and mistreating artists. The song appeared on Ross's album Rather You Than Me. Ross spoke directly to Birdman in the lyrics. He said Birdman once inspired him, but later showed behavior he couldn't respect. He even said he prayed for Birdman to treat Lil Wayne with love and fairness. This wasn't just anger, it was heartbreak. By October 2017, Birdman snapped. He went on Instagram Live, yelling and cursing for almost 10 minutes. He didn't say Ross's name, but everyone knew who he was talking about. He said he handled problems in real life, not online. Rick Ross responded calmly from a tropical location. He laughed it off and said Birdman should stop talking and start paying people what they were owed. Ross made it clear he wanted action, not threats. Behind all of this, Lil Wayne was still stuck in the middle. He and Birdman were still under the same roof, working in nearby studios, not speaking to each other. It was awkward and painful. Finally, in June 2018, Wayne and Birdman settled the lawsuit. Wayne got control of Thaw Carter V. The album dropped in September 2018. Wayne also left Cash Money, but kept ownership of Young Money. Reports said he walked away with over $10 million. In August 2018, Birdman surprised fans by joining Wayne on stage and calling him the greatest. It felt like peace. But the tension between Rick Ross and Birdman never ended. In 2022, Birdman accused Ross of copying his business style. He said Ross learned from him and then turned against him. To Birdman, it felt like betrayal. Even today, the story keeps coming back. Fans still debate who was right and who was wrong. This feud is about money, loyalty, pride, and broken trust. And that's why it never truly ends. If you want to keep up with every twist in this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This saga is far from over. Sometimes one short video is enough to wake up ghosts that never really died. A few seconds. shaky footage, loud voices, angry movement. And suddenly the entire internet stops and asks the same dangerous question. Is this beef really back? That's exactly what happened when that clip started circulating. At first, people scrolled past it like any other rumor. But then they looked closer. The faces looked familiar. The energy felt real. Too real. And before anyone could confirm anything, the story had already escaped control. Was Rick Ross really squaring up with Birdman? Or was this just another moment blown out of proportion by social media? Here's the thing about old beef in hip-hop. It never truly disappears. It sleeps. It hides. It waits for the smallest spark to turn into a fire again. And this spark was more than enough. Fans who had followed this story for years instantly felt that uneasy feeling in their stomachs. Not excitement, not shock, but recognition. Because this wasn't random. This didn't come from nowhere. This felt like unfinished business. For younger fans, this looked like just another rap argument. But for people who truly understand the history, this moment carried weight. Years of loyalty, years of silence, years of disappointment, pride, and broken trust, all bubbling back to the surface. What makes this situation so intense isn't just who Rick Ross and Birdman are. It's what they represent. Two self-made bosses. Two men who built empires from the ground up. Two leaders who once stood shoulder to shoulder, celebrating success, wealth, and power. That's why seeing them on opposite sides feels wrong, almost painful. Because at one point, these two weren't enemies at all. They were allies. They were brothers in business. They shared meals, studios, and visions. They spoke about each other with admiration, not jealousy. Rick Ross didn't just respect Birdman, he studied him. He watched how Birdman moved, how he structured deals, how he turned artists into brands. And Birdman, in return, saw Ross as a reflection of himself, a new generation boss with the same hunger. So when everything fell apart, it wasn't loud at first. There was no immediate diss track, no press conference, no direct confrontation, just distance, silence, cold energy. And silence is always louder than noise. Behind that silence were questions nobody wanted to ask out loud. Was Birdman wrong? Did Rick Ross betray him? Or was this fallout unavoidable once money, power, and loyalty collided? The hip-hop world has seen beef before, but this one feels different. There's no playful competition here, no friendly rivalry. This feels personal, emotional, like something that cut deeper than music. Because when idols fall, the pain hits harder. Rick Ross once called Birdman an inspiration, a blueprint, someone he looked up to. Imagine admiring someone for years, only to realize they don't stand for what you believed. That realization alone can change everything. And that's why this story refuses to die. Every time people think it's over, another clip surfaces. Another interview, another comment, another accusation. The tension never truly fades, it just shifts form. The internet loves drama, but this isn't just drama. This is a story about power, loyalty, and where lines are drawn when business starts hurting people you care about. Because once Rick Ross chose to stand publicly with Lil Wayne, there was no going back. In hip-hop, picking a side is never neutral. And once Birdman felt that loyalty slip away, the relationship was already broken. The real question isn't who started it. The real question is, backhand index pointing right, was this beef inevitable from the very beginning? Two bosses can only stand together for so long before ego, money, and control demand a winner. And now, years later, that same tension is resurfacing again, stronger, uglier, and more confusing than ever. So before we judge that viral clip, before we take sides, before we assume anything, we need to understand what really pushed this brotherhood past the point of repair. Because this isn't just about a fight. It's about respect lost. And in hip-hop, once respect is gone, there is no rewind button. To understand why this feud still feels unfinished, you have to understand one simple truth. Hip-hop is built on loyalty, but destroyed by bad business. Rick Ross didn't wake up one day and decide to turn against Birdman. That's not how this story works. This wasn't about clout or attention. It was about values colliding. For Ross, respect isn't just words, it's action. Paying artists on time, honoring contracts, protecting people who helped build the empire. And when he started seeing things that didn't align with those values, something shifted inside him. At first, Ross tried to mind his business. Lil Wayne's issues with Birdman were complicated and deeply personal. But the more public it became, the harder it was to ignore. Especially when Wayne, someone Ross deeply admired, was clearly hurting. This wasn't just another artist complaining. This was Lil Wayne, a legend. A man who gave everything to cash money only to feel trapped by it. And that's when Ross faced a choice. Stay silent and protect a friendship. Or speak up and risk burning bridges. In hip-hop culture, silence is often seen as approval, and Ross didn't want that on his conscience. When Ross started responding through music, it wasn't aggressive at first. It was reflective, almost disappointed, like someone talking about a mentor who lost their way. That's why Idols Become Rivals hit so hard. It wasn't hateful, it was honest. Ross wasn't trying to destroy Birdman's career. He was calling out behavior he couldn't respect. Birdman, however, took it personally. To him, Ross wasn't just criticizing actions, he was questioning character. And for someone who built their reputation on authority and dominance, that kind of criticism cuts deep. Birdman comes from an era where problems are handled face-to-face, behind closed doors, not through lyrics or interviews. So when Ross aired his feelings publicly, Birdman felt disrespected. And respect is everything in Birdman's world. That's why his reactions were explosive, emotional, unfiltered. He wasn't just angry, he was wounded. From his perspective, someone he helped inspire had turned against him. But here, where things get complicated, both men believe they are right. Ross believes loyalty means protecting artists. Birdman believes loyalty means staying out of family business. Neither is fully wrong. That's why this feud feels so heavy. It lives in the gray area. Even when Birdman and Lil Wayne eventually made peace, the damage was already done. Ross didn't forget what he saw, and Birdman didn't forget who spoke out. Time passed, but the tension never healed. And now, with that viral clip reigniting old emotions, fans are once again forced to pick sides. But maybe that's the wrong way to look at it. Maybe this story isn't about winners and losers. Maybe it's about what happens when power goes unchecked. When communication breaks down. When pride refuses to step aside. Rick Ross and Birdman are mirrors of each other. Two kings who built kingdoms, but lost trust along the way. And until that trust is truly addressed, this story will keep resurfacing. In clips, in interviews, in moments that feel small, but carry years of unresolved history. Because in hip-hop, nothing is ever really over. And this saga, it's still breathing. Stories like this don't end with a punch or a headline. They end with silence and unanswered questions. Rick Ross and Birdman may never sit down and talk this out in public. There may never be a final interview where both sides explain everything clearly. And honestly, that's what makes this story so powerful, because it reflects something very real. Sometimes, the people who inspire us the most are the ones who disappoint us the hardest. Sometimes, loyalty doesn't break in one loud moment. It slowly cracks, piece by piece, until there's no way to put it back together. This wasn't just a rap beef. This wasn't just about money. This was about trust. Rick Ross believed standing up for Lil Wayne was the right thing to do, even if it cost him a friendship. Birdman believed his family business should have stayed private, and anyone stepping in crossed a line. Both men moved according to their principles, and that's why neither backed down. That viral clip may fade, the blogs may move on, but the emotions behind this feud don't disappear so easily. Because when respect is questioned, time alone doesn't heal it. And that's the real lesson here. In hip-hop and in life, Success doesn't protect relationships. Power doesn't guarantee loyalty. And silence doesn't always mean peace. So the next time you see a headline, a clip, or a rumor, remember this. Behind every viral moment is a long story filled with choices, mistakes, and consequences that can't be undone. Now we want to hear from you. Backhand index pointing, right? Do you think Rick Ross was right to speak up for Lil Wayne? Backhand index pointing right, or do you believe Birdman was right to handle things his own way? Backhand index pointing right, and do you think this feud will ever truly end? Drop your opinion in the comments, because this conversation is far from over. If you enjoyed this deep breakdown and want more untold stories from hip-hop's biggest names, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Because the truth behind the music is always deeper than it sounds. And we're just getting started.